Okay, well, put your seatbelts on and hold on tight. Mark's
Test,
about
test,
ready
test.
to.
Can you hear me? Good.
Mark's about ready to take you through some wall cladding information. You got what, 10 slides you got to go through in an hour? So yeah,
Yep.
it's
245.
so we got quite a bit of information to go through. He's addressing a number of different
Yes.
wall cladding systems, materials, and so forth. And I'll just let Mark take it from here.
Inspecting the exterior envelope. What are we doing here? There we go. We need to be able to identify incorrect and missing application details that will lead to moisture intrusion and degradation of the structure. We should have a good understanding of the manufacturer's installation requirements and building code requirements for exterior cladding. You guys need to do your homework. You need to read your manuals. You need to be above anybody else, have more knowledge than anybody on the job. You can pick up knowledge from the installers. I pick up a lot of knowledge talking to them, but I also share some with them because they fail to read a lot of times. I give reading lessons in the courtroom often. I do a lot of expert witnessing. I'm in 38 cases right now, and we here at EDI are educating you guys to be able to take on some of this stuff. You know, some of you, because if you do this long enough, you'll be called in, quite possibly. We are the experts. We need to know our stuff. There's a lot to learn here. We're just getting started. Make it your goal to be a lifelong learner. Stay up late, get up early. Building envelope enclosures defined, waterproofing principles. We're going to be going over all these. I'm going to hit all these. Building envelope. The combination of roofing, waterproofing, damp proofing, flashing, and diverter systems in combination with all the exterior facade elements acting cohesively as a complete barrier to the natural forces and elements, particularly water and weather intrusion. These systems envelope a building or structure from the top to the bottom, from below grade to the roof. The entire building skin must be enveloped to prevent water infiltration. It is important to recognize that every component used in the envelope or building skin must be waterproof. 90% is not good enough. Why do you think that's highlighted in yellow and red and 2 exclamation points? It's on your test. I gave you the answer. Waterproofing principles. First principle, the 90%, 1% principle. 90% of all water intrusion problems occur within 1% of the total building exterior surface area. 90% of all leaks within 1%. This 1% contains the termination and transition detailing. This all too frequently leads to breaches and complete failure of the effectiveness of the building envelope and is the main cause of all waterproofing problems. Second principle, the 99% principle. Approximately 99% of waterproofing leaks are attributable to causes other than material or system failures. These failures include human installation errors, the wrong system being specified for in-place service requirements. Example is thermal movement encountered exceeds the material's capabilities. That would be in a sealant joint. You have thermal movement, you didn't put a big enough sealant joint in. The wrong or no primer being used. Oftentimes with sealants, you got to use primers. So you need to be aware of that. You need to read the instructions. It's also good to do some mock-ups early on and do some pull tests and see that the materials that you're using do work. Inadequate preparatory work. Sealant joints need to be clean. In residential, most guys just grab out the caulking joint and the low man on the totem pole grabs it, cuts the tube, and starts squirting it on. Doesn't even think to take a rag and wipe off the joint of the dust. And in the wintertime, you always need to defrost your joints. You need to chemically evaporate all the possible frost that might be on the joint. Wintertime application of sealants is very technical, and that's why we see a lot of sealants fail. Incompatible materials being transitioned together. There's times where a sealant might interact with the flashing tape on the window and cause it to start liquefying the flashing, especially in the case of solvent-based sealants and asphalt-based tapes. They react pretty well. Insufficient material being applied. How many times do you see somebody take a caulking tube and run it, then smear it with their fingers, take out half of the caulk? It doesn't work. We need to determine what type of claddings are installed. What are the unique characteristics of the claddings installed on this structure? There's always unique characteristics to every cladding. How do these various claddings interface with one another? Review and familiarize yourself with the installation guidelines. The guidelines on installation can teach us a lot, and a lot of people don't read. Various claddings, we have fiber cement, vinyl and steel, wood composites, and LP smart side. Wood, brick and full dimension stone, AMSV, adhered manufactured stone veneer, or ASV, adhered stone veneer, same thing. EIFS, exterior insulation and finishing system. DEIFS, direct applied exterior finish system. There's a lot of them that we have to be. There's similarities in a lot of them, but there's unique characteristics of all of them. Fiber cement, it's fragile while handling. Dust is harmful when cutting. Clearances must be maintained. Easy to overdrive the nails. Clearance requirements vary regionally, north and south, zone 5 and zone 10. I'm talking hardy in this thing. Details of installation are very similar to LP. Here's a hardy joint, a failure in hardy. This is an area, this has got a good clearance here, but the bottom joint wasn't sealed. All cut edges must be sealed.
What are those exclamation marks?
Both fiber cement and LP. Answers to your test. I'm a good teacher. I give you the answers. And I grade the test. This is another example. This is the hardy, from out of the hardy detail. You can find these. You guys don't have to go around wondering how to put it on. This is in there. Another version of it. It's different, but they have a couple different ones, and they both meet. Zone 5 clearance is 2 inches. Zone 10 clearance is 1 inch. Take a look at what the freeze thaw in our area does. The water goes into it, and during the winter, it freezes. And when moisture freezes, it expands 9%. Pretty soon it'll spall the material. And this looks really good on a house. That was a 3-year-old house. What's that?
We get similar looking hardy board here in Florida, it's rain. It's not just freezing, but it's rain.
Yeah. Rain will you guys down here have your own set of problems. You know. But you get up north where it freezes, everything changes. Things that work down here don't work up there. I don't know of anything that works up there that doesn't work down here, other than our people that retire. Another example of clearance that's too close. Roofing, 2 inches in the north, 1 inch in the south. Close up. This is mishandling of the siding before installation. It's pretty fragile. You bung it, you break it. Freeze thaw, spalling from caulk joints. There was a time, and they still recommend, I believe, in some of the hardy, that you can caulk the joint and butt it together. 1/8 inch, right? And then caulk it. You know what the problem with 1/8 inch? We don't have any sealants that perform in a movement of 1/8 inch. You put it together with 1/8 inch and caulk it. And when it moves apart 1/8 of an inch, how much joint movement is that? That's 100%. Most of our urethanes only work at a 30%. So if you want to be able to do 1/8 inch movement, you best have a 1/2 inch joint in there. And if you have a 1/2 inch joint, how are you going to get the isolation joint in the backer rod and sealant? When,
Long conversation with the Hardy engineer over that one time, because we got for our company,
yeah,
flashing.
yep,
A
yep,
lot of contractors want to get away from the flashing, so the caulking.
yeah, well, not on a vertical, not on a horizontal lap siding. Now, here's another thing that happens. As that pulls away, there's a little joint where it releases. The smaller the joint, the smaller the gap, the higher capillary action there is. So water goes in there, and in a freeze-thaw climate, it saturates it because we get a lot of fall rains, and then what's it do in the winter? It starts freezing and thawing, and it falls, and it looks wonderful on these few $100,000 houses. This is a great look when you're ready to come out in the spring. Siding often fractures at the edge where the nail is put in, fractures a little bit. Then a little bit of seasonal movement does the rest. There's another product on the market, CertainTeed weatherboards, that really had this problem. And then another company came in and bought all the CertainTeed weatherboards plants and started producing it after CertainTeed got sued out of their fiber cement business. This other company came in and started producing the same stuff, and it's got the same problems. It's still on the market today. You can see me afterwards, and I'll talk to you about it. Overdriving of the nails. Nails are supposed to be, do not overdrive the siding, do not underdrive the nails. Don't overdrive, don't underdrive. And then you're supposed to fill the heads with sealant if you overdrive them and put another nail close by. This is some fine work here. What's that? 200 feet from the tee. The house is now sided with LP. And it's got its own problems, but one of them isn't impact damage from a golf ball. The next one, microbial growth. Microbial growth. Identify that, would you? What is it? It is, but it's microbial, isn't it not? Either yes or no.
It's a mushroom. There we go.
But it's microbial. Okay, don't give me that. See, I cover my bases. Water intrusion behind the siding brings extractions to the surface and supports fungal growth. Did I get it?
We'll arm wrestle later.
Okay. This is a visual sign of a bigger problem. The surface has retained some biological elements and organic, and it's going to grow. Just showing you, watch for it. There's a big problem. Minimum clearance zone 5 is 2 inches, and zone 10 is 1 inch. This is off the deck. And Hardy has a little diagram here showing you how to achieve that. Another diagram of how to achieve it. There's plenty of information how to put this on. Sidewalk, don't pour the stoop over the siding. Clearance of zone, boy, I got a lot of those, don't I? I don't want you to miss, if the guys miss that question, there's problems. Off of the roof. But here's some of the damages that show up. Caulked into the shingles. That'll keep it from leaking, won't it?
For a day or two.
If water gets up in the joint higher, it's going to come down there and can't get out. It's going to flood and build up, and it's going to leak. The trim, 76.4% at that reading. That doesn't work. This is what it looks like. This was my neighbor's house. I went over and assessed it for him. The builder had to come back and fix it on his dime. In the state of Iowa at the time, it was 15-year statute of repose. If you had damage that was caused by problematic construction, the builder was online for 15 years. It's now 10 years.
From the time they discovered the damage?
From the time the house was built, they had 5-year discoverable, and it didn't matter how many owners owned the house, so technically you could be the 14th owner in the 14th year and this showed up and the builder needed to come back and get it. But you better get on it quick because you only got a year left.
They're working to change that, right?
Well, they did. They changed it down to 10 years.
Yeah, it's still dry.
I don't know that they'll get it past that. I've offered to inspect all the judges' houses that allowed that to change and all the senators. Yeah. My letter kept that law from passing for 5 years. It dropped the bill dead in its tracks for 5 years. But the last time around, it didn't work. The parties that were in power changed hands, but I did offer to go look at their houses. Another lack of kick-out flashing here. It needs a kick-out flashing. That's a specification. Kick-outs, right here. This is a kick-out. This is something. This is another something that somebody thought was a kick-out, right? They're supposed to be 4 inches by 4 inches, minimum. This is better. It's 6 inches by 6 inches, made out of TPO. See me back there. Everybody's going to go home with one of these, okay? Michael, don't get out of here without yours. I'm not taking them home. There's a proper example of how a kick-out should be put in. There's one little exception here to this. That gutter should be 1 inch away. There's a good one. Kickouts are not required to be pre-molded, but pre-molded really are the best configuration. Look, that could be on your test. There's a kickout in a stone veneer assembly. That house was the one that you saw in the last presentation with the Pella window laid out and all the, what did I say? The window was laid out. Did I? Boy, I slept up there. This does not meet code or the recommendation of James Hardy. That flashing, however, will protect and divert all the water around, but James Hardy says that you will have, they actually, where'd my kickout go? I got another one here. I knew something would happen to it. This is what James Hardy actually shows in their manual, the dry fleck. You don't have to use this. It's still the best one. That is not a kickout.
Comes in different colors.
That's not a kickout. That kind of is a kickout. It kind of is. It's doing kind of what it's protecting this area right here, but it's a non-conforming kickout. Huh? Yeah. This, what is that? That's just plain dumb. We see it all the time. Concrete poured over the siding, not flashed properly. By the way, that was inspected by a building inspector. Probably 2 or 3 home inspectors too. I mean, I see it. You guys need to call this out. This is just plain dumb. Does not meet the minimal detail of the building code. You can't bolt the deck over the siding. This is what you're supposed to do. Flash it. Make sure the water's kicked out. Another diagram showing the proper flashing. And this is an attachment out of the code. Decks are not to be mounted over siding. The ledger is to be mounted to the framing and properly flashed to manage the moisture.
What was that? Mark?
2 little things that somebody put in there, those exclamation points in red with yellow.
Mark?
Yes?
Isn't it true that
I tell you what, with electrical boxes, Hardy and LP both say to put a box on there, a block, to mount them.
There's a mounting plate.
There's a mounting block, and I'll cover that. I'll show it to you. Okay, 6-inch minimum clearance from grade. Okay, for the siding. That's LP, and that's Hardy, and in residential, that's just about everything. 6-inch clearance from grade. Somebody hired me to go look at some stuff on their house, and the siding was rattling in addition to what I was looking at. And so I just added that to my report. If you walk up to siding, Hardy, and you tap on the edge and you hear a rattle, I write it up as it's not installed, not fastened right, because it should be tight to the building. And as you can see, that they use these nails, you know, just to try to find the studs sometimes. You know, you don't have any reason to put that many. No, those aren't roofing nails there. Those are, I have a technique of taking good close-up photos. That piece of siding's only that far away, right there. And it looks like I have it pulled clear out and shooting it. But nails for blind nailing shall be 3/4 to 1 inch down from the top, and 3/8 inch in from the end boards. Stud finder.
There it is, there it is, there it is.
And none of those nails are 1 inch down. And Hardy now has an embedded line in there showing where the nails go. And people still don't get it. This right here, remember this, 3/4 to 1 inch down. That thing could be on the test. Look at this nail. Does that look like it's, see, 3/4 to 1 inch down? These are all photos that I put in a report that went to the attorneys. So that's why I have them all. I didn't just doctor them up for this PowerPoint. This is good information to show the judge. I'm marking nail placement here, discovery for litigation. It's supposed to be 16 inches on center in the stud. And these all have little marks on them telling how tall, how high, and how, none of those nails are right. It should be that's a break, that's a break. So right in there would be 16 inches. Because they did break on the studs for the siding. So it just shows some of the crap you see. It depends. There's a new APA document that allows you the sheathing only attachment, but you have to use special nails, and you have to drop your, depending on your wind load, you drop down to 12 inches on center, maybe 8 inches, even 4 inches on center. And in those cases, you wouldn't have to break on the stud. But in all others, when you're just nailing at 16 on center, you're supposed to break on the stud. This is a reside, and so in lieu of doing it right, they just pieced in all the way around. It's, yeah, somebody's good with the sealants, aren't they? These are good details of a job. The gap at the top of the header. It's supposed to be 1/4 inch minimum. They say 1/4 inch. I like 3/8 of an inch myself because a water does bridge 1/4 inch. You're supposed to paint this under here. That's your gap. The sealant should look like that. It's big. Adequate material used, well-profiled joint. You know how I know that? My company did it. We do good work. We did. I closed it down, but a gap above the window right there, a back dam on the sealant joint. A lot of these guys will leave the sealant, they'll smush it in there a little bit, but it won't go all the way back in. You need a back dam on that sealant joint. That's at the edge of the window, all the way pushed to the back. This is a PVC trim all the way around on the stoop to isolate the hardy up off of the stoop to proper clearance. A drainage gap. Drainage gap at hardy and LP. That could be on the test too. If you notice, where you have two pieces of siding coming together, they want, if this was the vertical siding, or you know, the sheet goods siding, the 4x8s that you stack on top of each other, they want a gap with the Z flashing in there. This shows a 3/16 inch minimum space all the way around the window, not smushing the siding tight to the window. And you're supposed to fill that technically with backer rod and sealant at these sides, but not at the top. You need that to drain. LP trims, 1 inch off of the shingles, off of the roof. LP clearance for shingles is 1 inch. LP clearance for shingles is 1 inch.
How many inches?
Are you taking the test? Clearance and kick out. You're supposed to have a kick out at every roof to wall transition. That's whether you're doing vinyl, no matter what you're doing, it's a code requirement. They don't necessarily call it a kick out flashing, but it's there to kick the water out, hence the nickname kick out. And there's some minimum specifications for that. It's supposed to be 4 inches tall and 4 inches out. And the ones that, and then there's a few of these little metal kickouts that just barely come out at about a 45-degree angle, and they're not big enough to get into the gutter when you space the gutter 1 inch away. So you got to watch for that. Mounting blocks for penetrations. Michael, there's your mounting blocks for any penetrations. Supposed to have a mounting block. This one defies me right here. Hardy and LP both say on horizontal plane you need a metal flashing and you need a gap so that it can drain. And that's to drain moisture that might get behind the siding. But let me tell you, if you got to drain moisture that's getting behind the siding out that place, you got bigger problems than you can imagine. I think, and I've got some calls into some people that I know in the specifying world, I think there should be a minimum that you could caulk. If it's 16 inches or less, you could caulk that and not have to try to produce that detail. Because at these little 4-inch penetrations, it's tough to get it.
Mark,
Yes.
I think there would have to be some sort of correlating airspace or standoff behind siding before we can start to say, we close up other opportunities for moisture exit. Because if the siding doesn't have a standoff, then it may need to exit at any given point.
But that 4-inch spot or that little 1.5-inch spot there, that's a problem. Here's a drive-by. I drive around sometimes and I just get out of my vehicle and look. This is a new house. AMSV on the garage. Siding has clearance. See it? That's good clearance. What's the problem there?
No sealant.
It's not embedded in sealant. You're going to learn more about this. Flashing, not embedded in sealant. Weave screed is present. Clearance is less than 2 inches. That's at the drive. It's supposed to be 2 inches. However, they put expansion joint in here so that the concrete is away and it can move up and down. Technically not correct, but it will perform. This is a head-on view so you can kind of see what we're looking at there. Grouted to the trim instead of a backer rod and sealant joint. You're supposed to, at all dissimilar surfaces with stone veneer, have a backer rod and sealant joint. This is at the front porch. No flashing protection. Up here at the top, no flashing protection. You're supposed to have a metal flashing over the hardy at a horizontal. Right here, it does have the metal flashing, but it doesn't have a metal flashing here. You're supposed to. Also, no sealant joint here. You should have a sealant joint. Then we're into the porch, same thing. We got the same problems. No clearance. You're supposed to have a weep screed on the porch. 30 minutes? Wow. Better hurry up. Penetrations. There's how our penetrations are supposed to be. Silcock and gas meter. Problem there is your blocks are supposed to be cut at a weather cut, the angle. See the 22.5 degree weather cut?
Do you see that most manufacturers are similar to Hardy? I mean, is Hardy the one that?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
There's other
Yeah.
manufacturers I've seen, like Nichiha.
The Nichiha, I'd look at them. We don't do a lot of Nichiha.
I compared them there. I had an issue with one. It was it seemed to go hand in hand. But I was just
Yeah.
curious if you saw it across the board.
Here's what I was talking about squishing that sealant joint in there. See my little wire? See my little wire? It's open. Water's going to get in there. All cut edges must be sealed. The meter panel is to be mounted on a different type of block. This thing just really, it was just a vinyl sort of affair, and it's not sealed at the top. Water could get in all around it. Right here, the house next door. So I'm there. I might as well walk next door. No metal Z-flashing there with a gap, and somebody cobbed on a couple pieces together with no 22.5 degree joint. This shows how that's my missing metal flashing. Sealant not complete again. No mounting blocks. That looks nice. This shows the mounting blocks. There's LP's version of it. We have the meter panel. No sealant here. This is right. There's that detail that I don't like, that Michael does. Clearance at grade, 6-inch minimum. We're stuck down in the grade. Vinyl and steel. Vinyl's a rain screen. So steel, first deflection against airborne moisture, not waterproof by any stretch of the imagination. Weather-resistant barrier and flashing detail, very important. A house shouldn't leak while it's in the weather-resistant barrier with no cladding on it. Once it should be waterproof at that point. Installation details. We have, it's required to have a weather-resistant barrier in the code for vinyl and steel. However, you need to know what year the house was built, because in the 2000 IRC, the weather-resistant barrier was specifically omitted behind vinyl and steel. They didn't need one in the 2000 IRC. It was required. It started again in the 2006. So 2000 and 2003, they did not need a weather-resistant barrier behind vinyl and steel, which... What's that? Not back then, they didn't have much for it. Yeah. In 2000, 2003. This shows it again, 2006. Now it's there. It's yes in every column. 2003, no in those columns. That table is no longer in the books. You need a weather-resistant barrier behind everything in the new codes, behind everything, except it's not required on detached accessory building. So go ahead and build your garages without it and let them rot. Really? Here's the extent of what your vinyl installation manual is. It's got some good points in it, but not a lot. It does require 1/2 gap, inch gap off with the vinyl J on top of the roof. Most of the times we see that down tight to the roof. They require kick-out flashing in vinyl, except that we talk about, there's an exception there. Kick-out is an additional flashing strip that extends behind the edge of the fascia that is required in some cold climate localities. Really? No. It's required everywhere. That could be on the test too. Transition from brick to vinyl, where that flashing comes out and sits on top of the stone, they want that embedded in sealant. How many times do you see that embedded in sealant? Almost never. I got a call, had a leak, unzipped this at the roof. What do we got there? We got a flashing without a counter flashing, and I call that a funnel. It's on the test. Here's a dormer with vinyl siding. We tear that off. Incomplete house wrap. And the flashing, roof-to-wall flashing, is on the outside. So it directs everything down to the inside at this entryway. Garage door headers. This is a big problem. I have one builder in Des Moines that's had the opportunity to correct garage door headers that are rotting on vinyl and stone 350 times. A minimum of $2,500 each time. It was a great opportunity. This was the only indication there was a problem on this house. The owner called us to look at it. There's my steel rule. Bob Cutter owns one of those. They're handy, aren't they, Bob? Yeah. This is an LVL header. You almost can't nail an LVL header together with an existing nail gun without having to beat the nails in. Look at, I know I'm strong. Look, right up. It's some kind of rot, yeah. By the way, dry rot is not from dry, it's from wet. Read up on it. One proper flashing detail would have solved all that. Just a little J channel over this piece of metal. That metal without a J channel is a gutter. It's a bathtub. It bathes the header. No kick out. Siding J acts as a gutter. Improper flashing technique. From this to this. And this is at the top of the header now. If you notice, there's a weep screed at the top horizontal member of the header to drain the water. You need a drainage base at the stone header at all horizontal locations, above windows and everything. If you ever go to a stone veneer section and it is caulked at the top, it's wrong. It needs to be drainable. The MBMA, this shows it. These are details in the MBMA that you can just take a look at. The kick out is now in. It's always easier and cheaper to do it right the first time. We have wood composites, sawdust instead of silica dust, more substantial than fiber cement, holds nails well, edges do not fracture, clearances must be maintained. This just goes through and shows you some of the details. You have your gap off of the roof, you have your gap above your Z flashing, and gap between two panels. Paint the bottom edges. Mounting blocks of PVC do not require protective flashing. That's how you get out of the metal flashing at the top. Mounting blocks with PVC. The PVC is put down here at grade because siding can't go that close to the grade. Mounting blocks again. Remember this? That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Ugly.
Yeah. And now we go to the nice little Craftsman pillars on the porch. What's wrong here? No sealant, no metal flashing. All wood and hardy is to have a flashing on top of it. You're not supposed to have any horizontal surfaces exposed. You're not supposed to sit on a sill. Technically, this says LP, it's supposed to be 1 inch above where water can collect. So people like this stuff and like to build these, but it's the wrong material. This is an LP's installation instructions, and it shows it all. It shows the flashing, shows the clearance, shows everything. Brick and full dimension stone. Needs to be installed in a drainable manner, and you're supposed to have a cavity behind the brick. If they would use this, you can eliminate that cavity. And here's the weeps. Put these a foot on center, and that'll drain. Put them at the top of the assembly. Now you have a pressure equalized drain screen just about. It'll have convective air currents come up, and it'll dry quickly. Weeps are required directly above through wall flashings. Weeps are required above lintels. Steel angles and lintels is required at the roof line on top of the shingles. How many of you have seen bricks laid on top of the shingles? It's not to be. BIA has a lot of documentation that you can look up. This is a church I was called, all kinds of brick leaks. This was inside a closet. There's no weep system, so it's all weeping in here and dripping out. Look at the rust on that lintel. These were some 4-story brick buildings built up in my area, and this is the brick cavity. The mortar that touches here will eventually allow vapor drive moisture to go through the Tyvek because it's got a capillary bond to the Tyvek. Look at that, it's just trash full. It does have the mortar vent there that'll help drain water, but these build a capillary bond to it so when water comes down there, they can sit on that brick ledge and just feed in. Remember the little dam that Bob showed to test? All these are little dams, little shelves that collect water and just sit there. There's the through wall flashing. It's supposed to collect all that and drain it to the outside. Not all of it's going to flow there. Weeps are placed directly on top of the through wall flashing, not on a 1/2-inch mortar on top of the through wall flashing. They're placed directly on the through wall flashing. When you have a 1/2-inch mortar bed that they put them in, that allows water to collect back there and it can't make it out. This shows a diagram of how the through-wall flashing is to work, and there's where your weeps would go, right on top of the through-wall flashing. This inspection diagram, I believe, is on your thumb drive. It's how to inspect residential brick veneer. It's got a lot of good diagrams on it. It'd be good to read, and you can pick up some details on. This is on the roof. You're supposed to have a bearing for the brick if it's sitting on the roof. See the angle that goes on there, right on the roof? I very seldom, this one has an angle. It's missing the kick out, but it has a metal angle. I very seldom see the metal angle. Another brick job. No means of draining base at the masonry. This is above the garage door headers. Garage door headers at 36.6%. I think that's above the threshold. This is what it looks like when you tear it off. Retrofitted weeps. What's wrong there? Yeah, they drill them. If the base flashing is there, it's too high. I don't even see a base flashing. Somebody just put it in. We're going to go past this to this. Okay. Let's see if this is my video's not going to show, is it? This is what it looked like. Oh, there we go. Maybe that'll show. Yeah. This is what the house was going through when they called and said they had a leak. Oh, yeah. We have problems up here. This is on the outside after I unzip the vinyl, and what isn't complete there? The house wrap. The house wrap is supposed to cover the entire wall. So many times the guys put the nailer for the soffit on it and only house wrap up to the bottom of the nailer. But the wall extends that far above it. It's supposed to hang over the whole wall. That's a code requirement, over the entire envelope. So water can get in there and drop down, and that's what it was doing with those winds, and it's draining into the window. Vinyl with a kick out. I rarely see it. I just picked that up because this house had all those problems, but it had a kick out. What did I tell you about counter flashing that's not counter flashed? It's a what? Funnel. Yeah. This is inviting water in. This was inside that day. Another ceiling leak. While I'm there, by the way, your stone details are not right. So I was called to look at a leak, and, you know, I need to tell them. Stone details aren't right. And your garage door header has problems. It's 42% in the garage door. I got another call. How long do I have? Oh. We have issues with our siding. Can you help us? That's pretty, isn't it? Clearance. Nice sealant job. It probably works, but it's really artistic, isn't it? That doesn't work. That's looking up, and you can see all these nails that are overdriven and kind of missing. Overdriven. Stud finder. Pin nails. That's kind of a new deal. You ought to see the guys putting on siding with pin nails. You know, it's for an occasional, the pin nail deal is for an occasional flapping siding that you can pin it down with, not supposed to be used everywhere. And the pins are supposed to be driven flush and then painted over, not underdriven or overdriven. Overdriven nails, these are all going to fail over time. They did caulk over a couple. Yeah, doesn't that look nice? That's what these people got. I was walking around there and there it was. That's what I have for you guys. Any questions?
How much of that overdriven you think you do that nail?
Just about all of it. Yeah. There's techniques you can use to, see, I had a company for a lot of years. We did this. You back the pressure off, you nail it, you leave the nail out that far, you pull your hammer out and tap set it, and it's flush.
I see it in the roofing side, these guys, rather than setting a little bit short, they don't want to take the hammer out. So
Right.
the pressure a little high, so they never have to come back. But it's very simple.
Well, and it's blind nailed up there and overdriven, the nails, the mini coil nails that everybody's using for siding are technically not the right size head. They miss the diameter of head by just a little bit. If you mic it, you can technically call it that it's a wrong nail. That's not a fight that I go to because everybody's using it. They have a new nail called a scrail, and it's a screw shank nail. It's got a 3/8 inch diameter head. It's 1 1/8 inch long, and it's made for sheathing only attachment. And if I were building myself a new house with Hardy on it, that's how I'd put it on, because it really holds it. Other questions? Either I bored you or I did a good job. You don't have any questions. Okay, Ron.
Great job, Mark. It's a lot of information there. Okay, we've got one more session here. We learned about Jeopardy in review of level 1. We're going to do Jeopardy for level 2 also, and we'll just kind of work through it and see what you remember. So, answer: cement board siding. Termination of a step flashing at roof siding intersect. What's a kick out or diverter flashing? Remember the first time I was getting involved in this back 20 plus years ago, I was at a presentation. I'm sitting there listening to Hal Golden, the building official from Wilmington, North Carolina. He's up there talking about kickers. You got to put kickers in. If you don't have kickers, you got problems. And I put my hand up. What's a kicker? He says, well, it's the last piece of flash that kicks the water out of the wall. I said, oh, a diverter? He says, yeah, some people call it diverters. So that's how kick-out flashings came into existence, so kickers. Cement board siding. Over the substrate. What is a weather-resistant barrier? What's the WRB, right? Cement board siding, factory edges, backflashed, or face caulked, staggered from course to course. Couldn't quite hear any of those. What's required at butt joints of cement board siding? That the back flashing. Remember you're talking about that, and a lot of people don't like to do that. It's a little, but it's the best way to go. And then the factory edges, and then you need to paint it if you cut it. Building science has the lowest modulus of elasticity of the following. Which has the lowest modulus of elasticity? Concrete, wood, caulk, or steel? Caulk. And when you start talking about EIFS and stucco, we start talking about low modulus of elasticity or ultra low modulus of elasticity. Vinyl. Installed at the termination of roof flashing at roof/vinyl siding intersections? Boy, you guys are a little slow. You're falling asleep. You put him to sleep? Mark, it's not like you to put him to sleep. You have another shot tomorrow to wake him up.
Big lunch.
Big lunch, okay. What's a diverter or kickout flashing? Vinyl. Vinyl siding is a standalone weather barrier. What is not? Even though the code said you could eliminate the weather barrier for a few years. Interesting. Building envelope. Air movement alone can transport this into the building envelope. What is water vapor? Yep. Building science. Degree of attachment between a coating film and the underlying material to which it is in contact. What is adhesion? Water. Capillary suction does not naturally occur without these two conditions. I'm hearing you. What is moisture? You got to have the moisture. And then what's porous? If you don't have moisture, you won't have capillary suction. But you need the porous material. Building envelope, responsible for ensuring that the building envelope is a weather barrier in residential construction. Maybe the question said, who is responsible for ensuring that the building envelope is a weather barrier in residential construction? Who's the builder? It's not the inspector. Oh, so, okay. Building envelope. Delamination is most commonly caused by this. What is water intrusion or moisture intrusion? Yep. Yeah, the water is what causes the delamination. It gets in there and pops. Building envelope. Quality of waterproofing is directly dependent on this. What is workmanship? You guys got that right? Yep. Building envelope. Initial inspection begins with this. What is a visual walk around? That's your first step. Take a look, see what you got, what you're going to be working through. Vinyl. Prior to installing vinyl siding, install this. I think we heard that one a minute ago. Got it in there twice. Just seeing if you're paying attention. Vinyl. Vinyl siding fasteners should be spaced no more than this for horizontal applications. What is every 16 inches? Vinyl. Nominal clearance of vinyl panels at openings and penetrations to allow for thermal movement. Quarter inch. I heard you say 3/16 around the windows and doors.
That did say, there was a slide for 3/16. I'll tell you what,
Okay.
color requires 3/8 of an inch all the way around.
So depends on window manufacturer. Pella's saying 3/8 of an inch. 3/16 isn't enough to get an effective sealant joint. So that's, even quarter is not really enough.
It depends on the siding manufacturer. LP says 3/16 of an inch, so you need to read it.
Yep. Well, this is for vinyl. Mark had the 3/16 showing in the slides as we were going through it. But when it comes time for a test, imagine you saw double exclamation points by this. So go with a quarter inch. That's nominal clearance of vinyl. Yeah, the quarter inch, okay. Vinyl, face nailing vinyl is an acceptable at this detail. I heard no, so no is about the same as never. Vinyl. This is how vinyl panels move freely from side to side. What is it? Never drive the nail fasteners tight to the hem. It's supposed to be centered in the slot, but not tight. So you have the ability to expand and contract. Vinyl. Rest assured, most vinyl siding is installed according to the Vinyl Siding Institute installation manual. Water. The water transport mechanisms. You're talking about how to address it. This is the transport mechanisms. You got gravity, kinetic, capillary surface tension, differential pressure, vapor diffusion. Brick. No weeps at this location. One or more bricks above, courses above the flashing. That's what Mark was talking about. It needs to be down at the flashing, not above the flashing. So your weeps need to be on the flashing, get the water off on the flashing. Water, movement of rainwater down the face of a building. What is gravity? Water, suction of water into permeable materials. What is capillary action? Water, water clinging to the underside of horizontal surfaces. Kinetic? I heard a kinetic over here? Oh my gosh. What's surface tension? Water, differential pressure movement. What is water vapor driven in the direction of lower pressure? That was a weird question, wasn't it? Somebody else. Water, moving from warm towards cold. What, vapor diffusion. Building envelope, face sealed, drainage cavity, rain screen, and pressure equalization. What are types of cladding assemblies which resist water intrusion? Again, that was a pretty general type thing, trying to get you to think. Those are all methods that will accomplish this. Masonry, continuous vertical section of masonry, 1 unit in width, or 1 unit of thickness. A wythe, W-Y-T-H-E. What's a wythe? Vinyl, 3/4 inch deep. What's minimum penetration of fastener into solid nailable surface? Vinyl, utility trim. I don't know, we talked about that. Yep, that's what's used under windows to prevent the oil canning, keep it from buckling. Vinyl, 16 inches on center. What's maximum horizontal fastener spacing? And that's it. Any questions or comments? We got done early. Mark, you got some more comment? No. Hopefully you found today educational. Do I want to thank our instructors for helping us this, Cliff and Mark and Bob and Dennis and Michael. Thank you for coming and participating and helping us out. EDI would not be successful without you. And keep that in mind. If you think this is something you'd like to help us out down the road, we're open to having getting more people in and helping us get EDI heading in the right direction. So.
One more announcement, guys. Back there, those dry-flecked kickouts, everyone will be leaving with one, okay? And some MTI literature. I mean, this stuff can make your career successful if you recommend this to other people. And how are you going to recommend it without a sample? So please take your sample. I brought them for you.
He doesn't want to carry them home. If there's nothing else, I guess we're wrapping up just a little bit early. We'll start again tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Got breakfast 7 to 8, so have a good evening. Oh, and don't forget, 7 o'clock tonight, Scott Stevens will be in here demonstrating his fast photo reports and Reporter Maker Pro. So, thank you.